Hi everyone, this is Anna Finch from Finch Press Publishing. Now today's video is a book review. So today I will be reviewing The Adoration of Jenna Fox by Mary Pearson. Now, first time I read this was actually as a text for Year 9 students. I was teaching this text in comparison to a film AI. Now, I then purchased it afterwards in order to give a student in my Year 9 class in 2019 another text because they were not allowed to read The Hunger Games or watch the movies because it was too violent for them. Now, Adoration of Jenna Fox is basically about a girl who wakes up from a coma after an accident, and she basically has very little memories of her life beforehand. A lot of her memories are gone. One day she can't walk, the next she can. You don't really find out what's wrong with her, why she's like this, till the end. So it's a bit of a mystery until you get to the end. Now, in this story, you do know that her parents are hiding something from her. It's fairly explicit in the text that her parents are hiding something from her, and Jenna does realize this. She doesn't know what they're hiding or why, but she knows they're hiding something from her. And she knows that her grandmother, Lily, hates her, and she doesn't understand. She doesn't have the memories to know why. There's little conversations and things between her grandmother, Lily, and her mother that suggest that something happened, something's wrong with Jenna, that something isn't normal. Now, she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't understand who she is. She has no idea. Her memories are blank. She's basically building herself up from the ground up. This is a dystopian thriller, and it does fit into both categories. It's interesting. The characters are well developed. Now, this is written in first person as well, but the characters are interesting. They're compelling. They're not perfect. They're flawed, and you can like them because of that. And the characters and what's happening, particularly to Jenna, her struggle, her emotional struggle is at the heart of everything that happens, and her story is interesting. You get engaged in it. You start to feel what she feels, and that's important when it comes to characters. If you don't care about the characters, then you won't be interested in the story. The characters, at least for me, are what drives the story. The characters need to be interesting. What's happening to them has to be interesting. Otherwise, I won't be interested in the story itself, especially if it's a main character. Now, I actually read this in less than an hour, which was a record for me. I read this in less than an hour from start to finish and understood everything and remembered the majority of it. The language, it's accessible. So language-wise, the story is easily accessible for those with lower literacy levels. So language-wise, for a school text, this could be read by Year 7. So anyone from Year 7 up to Year 12. So this is from middle to senior year level could read this. It's a YA text, so it's for young adults. It's a YA dystopian thriller. That's the actual genre that's actually mentioned on the back. But it can be read by younger year levels. The characters are compelling. The story is interesting. You don't really get what's wrong, and you don't really what happens at the end, what happens to the characters at the end, is a complete surprise. There are little hints along the way that give you a bit of an idea of what could happen. But again, what happens is a surprise. You don't predict it, really. It may not be something you predict. Some people could, but it took me to reading to the end to figure out, oh, that's why Lily hates her. Or that's why the parents of Jenna and Lily, the grandmother, are in some sort of conflict. You get little hints along the way that could suggest it, so the ending doesn't come out of the blue, but it's still a surprise. What happens is still something the reader can be interested in, because it's not something they predicted and they go, oh yeah, I thought of that, I already knew this was going to happen. No, it's a surprise, but it's been built upon well. So the characters are engaging and interesting. Storyline, the actual story arc for the characters and the actual plot was engaging. It interested me, it drew my attention, and it kept me reading. The emotional story arc for the characters and the emotional development of the characters was well written. Jenna was compelling. You felt for her. You cared about her. And with a first-person text, that's the most important thing. You need to get the reader to care about the person whose perspective you're seeing the story from. So, characters, stories, compelling. Now, unlike the Hunger Games, the text itself is not violent. There's no real explicit violence in this. A lot of the issues are to do with current social issues and beliefs, but story-wise, some of the issues that were in the Hunger Games didn't appear in here. So, even though this is a dystopian text, it's more difficult to analyse as a dystopian text. Now, so, as a piece of literature, as a book to read for enjoyment, Jenna Fox is engaging. It's interesting from start to finish. Everything about it is interesting. There is no real clear antagonist. There are characters who can fulfill the role of an antagonist, but her biggest challenge is herself. And it's what happened to her. Her biggest challenge is herself, is overcoming what has happened to her. So her struggles are all connected with herself rather than some big oppressive government that's out to get her, like the Hunger Games. So, for enjoyment, as a piece of literature, I would rate this 9 out of 10. It's not a perfect 10 because there are some things that I didn't really like, but 9 out of 10. I particularly liked the little bits of poetry that were in this as well, in the character's perspective, giving you a little hint about the characters' change, what they think, what they felt. As a text, so as a dystopian text, if it was on the curriculum as a dystopian text, the rating's a little bit more difficult. Now, structure-wise, it is a dystopian text. There are elements of dystopia. However, if you're giving this to Year 9 students who have lower literacy levels, the elements of dystopia are harder to identify than the Hunger Games. Also, as a text to be studied, there are not a lot of references. I found it difficult to get things about themes, about characters, character summaries, just like a description of the character, description of the chapters, themes. Like, it took me 2 full days. It took me the whole weekend just to find information about 2 themes for this. So, if you're doing this as a text in school, as a text for like year 9, year 10 students, while it's a good text to read, it's interesting, kids can relate to it. As a teacher, however, if you're teaching this text, the resources for it are practically non-existent. You either have to make them yourself or spend hours and hours, like I did, finding stuff. Because this isn't as popular as the Hunger Games, so not a lot of people have written resources for it, especially free resources. It's also harder to purchase, whereas with the Hunger Games you can find anywhere in any store, secondhand, brand new, ebook, you can find it anywhere. Jenna Fox, you can only really buy online. Most bookstores will not stock it. Unless it's on a book list, then only the particular company that the school works with will buy it. But even then, most of the time, it's only available online, not in a bookstore. And you can't really buy it secondhand. You have to search for it. I was able to buy mine secondhand, but it took me hours to find a place that would sell it secondhand. So, as a text to be studied for year 9, as a dystopian text, even as a text to be studied, I would give it 6 out of 10 as a text to be studied, simply because if the students are not high or highly engaged readers who can read for sustained periods of time, or if they won't do the reading themselves because they struggle with reading, then this is not the most suitable text, because many of them will rely on things like chapter summaries from SparkNotes, and there's practically nothing for Jenna Fox. It's very hard to find information about it. So 6 out of 10, maybe a 7, but for as text to be studied, I would not recommend it unless you've done it before at a particular school and you have access to resources for it. So that's it from me. Hope you liked it. If you did, press the like button down below and hit the subscribe button if you want to be notified of when I upload videos. I try to upload twice a week. But anyway, see you next time.